It would be great to have someone who could do our work for us, right? Someone to prevent us from making mistakes. Someone to assist with our routine professionally and allow us to devote our time to communicating with our closest people. If only we could get results without wasting our time for nothing. Unfortunately, it's impossible in real life. But wait, Light Forex Social Trading. Spend your time doing what really matters to you.
Good morning. 10th of May 2019. It's a minute past 8 CET time. Piotr here. And this is the London pre-open live market coverage on Light Forex Global YouTube channel. It's good to be back after a short break. Actually, when I checked yesterday evening euro dollar chart, yeah, it's almost like nothing has happened. But we are going to go through all these charts. And because of my late back yesterday, I was not able to check all the charts. So we are going to go through the majors. That's where our focus is going to be. Just a reminder, it looks like it might be busy Friday because of the calendar. So just a reminder, we are going to have another meeting today. We are going to cover New York Open, and mostly because of the US data, and we are talking about US CPI. So you are more than welcome to join me later today at 2:15 p.m. CET. We are going to prepare ourselves for US CPI as well as for a Canadian job market. We will see what's going to happen. Anyway, let's start with the risk warning today. Please bear in mind, trading FX, trading crypto and margin carries a high level of risk, may not be suitable for all investors. You can sustain a loss of some or all your initial investments, so please do not invest the money that you cannot afford to lose. All right, yeah, you can see the details of our afternoon meeting below the chart. So 2 p.m. CET, 2:15 p.m. CET. You are more than welcome to join me later today. What about the calendar? As I mentioned, it looks like it's gonna be busy. We had a RBA monetary policy statement during the Tokyo session. Looks like everyone is confused after that statement. Anyway, market was trying to push prices higher in what was the first initial reaction was to the upside, bullish, right? But right now, ahead of the London Open, we are almost where we were before the statement, right? So retest of 70 right now, or we are trading currently around the 70. And from the higher time frame perspective, medium term perspective, looks like it might be key week for Australian dollar versus US dollar. It's all about weekly close, and if we are going to take into the consideration what happened where we seen the last week or 2 weeks ago, the latest closes, it was above 70, and we are talking about the last week close 70.23.25, and 2 weeks ago we are talking about 70.35, right? And right now there was a gap down because of the at the open of this week, because of the Trump, because of the China, because of the tariffs, right? We know that a few hours ago there was an increase in tariffs for another 200 billions, but actually looks like it was the buy the rumor, sell the facts for now. Anyway, what we see here and what I'm trying to explain could be key week for Australian dollar, right? And if we are going to close below last 2 week lows, right, that might be really unwelcome from the bulls perspective. So we are talking about the weekly close below 70, and it might push Aussie dollar a little bit lower toward yearly low. Of course, we do remember the very early beginning of the year flash crash over here, right? So we are talking about this move towards 68 or even below 68 in that case. Anyway, I do believe bulls are not going to give up easily. So from that perspective, afternoon and especially the price action after the US CPI might be very interesting here on Australian dollar. So of course during the afternoon meeting we are going to check Aussie dollar for sure, right? So RBA statement, we are done with this. What is ahead? And at 10 a.m. CET. No, let's start with the German trade balance. Let me provide details of that for you. There you go. Okay, you should be able to see it right now, and we are waiting for French industrial production. We are awaiting Italian industrial production, 8:45, 10. Then another important data, I mean UK GDP, all right? Low expectations. So from one hand, bulls might look for positive surprise. It's easy to eventually to beat that number. But what is going on with British pound here? Let me clean some stuff here. All right, so what is going on with the pound? Of course, it's not all about the royal baby, it's all about the Brexit, I would say here. Yeah. Very interesting stuff if we are going to make some comparison, right? That's the weekly chart, and we saw attempt to break higher. Actually, we broke to the upside. We were able to get back and close last week above 130, and right now what we see is we can call it as some kind of the retest, right, of the 130 after last week rally, right? The thing is, we are right now testing 130, as well as we are testing the 2 weeks ago, what we've seen 2 weeks ago, the open, right? So this turnaround, we are talking about the last week and what happened last week and 2 weeks ago. Right now, it looks like it might be just the retest of what we've seen 2 weeks ago, right? In case we are going to see lower levels, there is a possibility of some kind of the stop count, and we are talking about the lows we've seen 2 weeks ago, and then again towards 27.70, another possible stop hand, and then 26.80. We were discussing these levels before my break, before my holidays. So to be honest with you, actually the latest last week rally, there was a little bit of a surprise for me, especially with the weekly close above 130. So looks like bulls might try to take over here. That's how it looks from the weekly perspective. Right now, from a daily perspective, that's the key, right? Last Friday rally, and I'm very curious what's going to happen later today, especially with this US CPI data, because it might be that we are gonna to see similar behavior like we've seen last Friday, and this time I'm not gonna be surprised, right? So it might be like good excuse, especially if we are gonna to get the weaker than what market is expecting, if we are gonna to get the weaker reading in terms of US CPI. So watching pound here carefully, and first from the UK GDP perspective, and then from the US CPI perspective. Going back to daily from weekly, right? On weekly, we were talking about some kind of the retest. From the daily perspective, it looks a little bit weaker. What I mean by that? All right, the turnaround last Friday, right? So we saw the pullback last Thursday over here. All right, we saw the pullback, and Friday rally we took out this supply, right? We took out this supply. The latest move from here, yeah, from here to here, all right? So a little bit of the rally, then boom, 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 boom. All black candles, right? Falling candles. So we took out this supply last Friday, right? And Monday, Tuesday, it was some kind of the correction. But what happened on Wednesday and yesterday, bulls were not able to get back above. That's a little bit of surprise for me, right? So what I'm talking about the last Friday open and low, right? I'm talking about, there you go, about these levels, all right? Daily green. So I'm talking about this Friday open and low. And what happened on Wednesday, we took out this low. There was even lower low during the yesterday trading day. All right, dodgy. So yeah, there is a fight between the bulls and bears. But still, what happened yesterday, it was the yesterday high and rejection was based on what we've seen on Tuesday low, right? So Wednesday was the breakdown. Yesterday move to the upside might be treated as a retest of this gap, right? So we close the gap, and bears will look for continuation to the downside, all right? On the other hand, because of the Friday, bulls might look for 130 to close above, another weekly close above 130 psychological level, right? So in that case, I would look for some kind of the positive price action. If you are a bull, you want to see some kind of the swing low formation over here. So I'm talking about the yesterday low and day before Wednesday low to hold, to create, right, some kind of the swing low, and the rally, especially rally above yesterday high, and trying to close. The minimum target for bulls is to close above yesterday high. Would be great to close above Monday low, trying to get back to the weekly open, right? So from the weekly perspective, to create really the test candle, right? So last week it was the strong move above 130, and it would be good from the bulls perspective to create lower shadow as a test and close as high as possible, right? On the other hand, from the bears perspective, for now trying to hold below yesterday high, below Tuesday low, right? Trying to close below what we've seen last week, in between Thursday and Friday price action, trying to close below this levels, closing and opening levels from last week, Thursday and Friday, right? So that's the key task for bears. So very interesting from the pound perspective, and again 10:30 a.m. 10:30 CET, UK GDP, and then 2:30, 4 hours later, US CPI, and that might be a very interesting day from the British pound perspective, right? So in case of intraday price action, especially yesterday, New York pound rally over here, right? So where we are right now, we are trying to test this breakout. We are testing this breakout level over here, all right? I'm talking about, if you wonder what I'm talking about, what kind of the breakout level, I'm talking about this reversal over here. So we may try to take into the consideration, oh yeah, this zone over here, inside the I'm sorry, inside this what we were discussing, the last Friday low. We might try to create some swing low and we are talking about the yesterday low and Wednesday low, right? So let's have a look what we have, and we can add another line, and that's the, looks like might be the key here. Now if you are a bull from intraday perspective, what you wanna see, right? You have to be patient, and if we are not gonna be able to get back above 30.20 quickly, we might see 1-to-1, and in that case, boom! Swing low creation is still possible here based on what we've seen on Wednesday, right? If we are going to take the Wednesday low into the consideration here, right? If you are a bear, you wanna see something like, if that was the yesterday action here, right? The reversal, New York rally on the pound, then consolidation, failure here, but you wanna see 1-to-1 from 1 point. So whatever is going to happen, we might see rally from here, right? In that case, 1-to-1 is a stop count above yesterday high for sure, and you wanna see some kind of the rejection, right, around the breakdown over here. So we are talking the breakdown over here, we are talking about this level. Boom! 1-to-1, right? Nicely over here. So from intraday perspective, bears waiting for 30.55 and rejection above, not that much above, so some kind of the rejection over here, and bears are waiting for 1-to-1 and trying to from the daily perspective looking for a swing low, and that's how I see the pound here. All right, next. So 10:30 a.m. UK GDP, 2:30 US CPI, as I mentioned. In that case, pound is the one thing, but the euro dollar is the second thing, right? And here, very interesting things going on from the higher time frame. Still, we can argue that it's a range and it's a narrow, and it's getting narrower, but it's very good looking right now from both bulls and bears perspective. Now, it all depends who is going to have more money, right, to push either side to make the upside break or to make the downside break, right? Hello, Mer. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So in that case, from the higher time frame perspective, euro dollar, we are I cannot say it's going to happen 100%, right? We know we cannot say like this. But we are getting, I would say that we are getting closer into something related to the either side break. It might be upside, downside. So let's have a look what we have. 2 weeks ago, there was a breakdown, right? So we've seen the lowest close. If we are talking about this year price action, right? Then last week it was attempt to get back and try to close higher. Unfortunately, upper shadow, right? Over here. So some kind of the swing high on a weekly is possible. In that case, that would suggest that we might see another attempt to break lower. Especially if we are talking about this weekly chart and we know where we are. We were discussing this few times, right? So we are testing this latest weakness from 2016, all right? Plus this consolidation before the break higher. So we are testing some kind of the demand from the higher time frame, and if we are gonna to add 110 as psychological level over here, so what we might see some kind of the trap with attempt to break lower just to retest this demand around 110 and then move higher. Now we are talking about the higher time frame, meaning that it's gonna to take time before we see this type of the price action. Might take the weeks. But for example, after the summer holiday, when there is going to be the more action towards the next year US election, right? And especially if there are going to be the growing support for Trump, right? It not necessarily might be good for dollar, right? Some market participants might take into the consideration that if Trump is going to be elected again and that the second term, nothing to lose, and then he may try to influence Fed. He may try to destroy the dollar because he wants a weaker dollar. So we may try to play some kind of the buy the rumor, sell the fact things, right? Of course, we are talking about the higher time frame perspective. On the other hand, with all this uncertainty around the world, lower GDP, all these worse or bad numbers around, there might be not better choice than the dollar or maybe Japanese yen or whatever. So of course it's a fight here, and both bulls and bears from higher time frame perspective got their arguments, and they will try to put the stamp, right? We are right, or no, we are right, and we see at some point the break. Still some kind of the range. Yes, we had the lowest close this year 2 weeks ago, and we are fighting with this highs over here, right? So bulls need to try to close above, right? And in that case, we are talking what we've seen 2 weeks ago, open 1242, high 62. So we are talking about 20 pips range. Of course, I think would be better to try to close above 13, right? So strong close. So what happened 2 weeks ago and 3 weeks ago, the latest weakness, we need, for confirmation, we need to close above 3 weeks ago, open 1303, right? So we wanna see something like, this week candle like this, right? From the bull's perspective, okay? On the other hand, as I mentioned before, we may try to, you know, attempt to reverse what happened 2 weeks ago. Failure, it might be the failure, right? Next week might be similar, another price action within the range from what happened 2 weeks ago, and then next week attempt to, in that case, attempt to break lower, right? So it's all about the high from 2 weeks ago, 1240, 1260. The great thing for bulls is to close above 13. So this to cancel this weakness, latest weakness, right? To cancel this latest weakness over here. Okay, that's how I see the things on euro dollar. So let's switch to the lower time frame. Let's have a look what we might see from the day trading perspective. And if you remember, of course, we were discussing this channel a few times already. There was an attempt to break higher when I was on holiday, rejected. So we were trying last week to go lower. The low was rejected as well. Interesting, right? So what happened? The last week price action, right? After the Fed and strong job market, right? This price, last week price action, we are still inside what happened between the Fed and the non-farm payrolls, right? And that's very important, because lately, what I've been trying to explain a few times, right, from the dollar perspective, where we were, Trump was trying to weaken the dollar. The previous Fed, some were trying to argue it was the dovish, right? But dollar was holding steady and dollar was above these levels, right? This time, I'm talking about the last week price action. This time it looks a little bit different, right? Look where we are post FOMC and post non-farm payrolls. All right. Dollar is not at the new high here, right? And that's surprised me a bit, right? We got strong job market. Of course, from the FX perspective, the earnings, average hourly earnings was weaker, and that's what caused the reversal last week, all right? But overall picture, right? Let's try to check this from the overall picture. So the key today, the US CPI, it might be the key today, right? To see the continuation. So for now, and we see there was an attempt to retest post FOMC high, rejected yesterday, right? Especially that it was the the latest weakness over here. So we are, yeah, we might talk about this weakness over here as well. So once we are gonna to break through this level, that the things might change and might get interesting immediately, right? What I mean by that, it might be that if we are gonna to make the measure, we might see after the break, we might see attempt to go higher, and we are talking about March high, especially we are talking about the range from the 20th of March, right? All this range might be tested here. So very curious what we going to see after the US CPI. I'm not, I'm not blindly trying to bias myself to the upside or to the downside. I want to see what's going to happen. It's gonna be a little bit tougher if we see the break higher during the London session, so before the US data. But yeah, we are going to watch this stuff afternoon. So again, 2:15 p.m. CET, we are going to have a meeting. Again, we are going to cover New York Open. Of course, we are going to focus on US CPI as well as on Canadian data. About the Canadian dollar, we are going to talk during the afternoon meeting. From the morning meeting perspective, actually we covered majors, all right? So we are done here. We know from intraday perspective what to focus on. And the last thing I would like to cover, as usual, crypto side. And yes, you are going to be surprised. 1 second, let me switch to Bitcoin chart. And I'm not removing any lines, right? Once we have some lines, once the scenario is going on, I like to have just, for someone who is going to join after some time to us, right? To see that, I'm sorry, we are not bullshitting here, right? We are doing I think we are doing the good stuff here. Anyway, what we discussed on the Bitcoin side is that the best thing might happen for bulls is to go through this wall of supply in between 5,800, 6,000 overall in average, right? And boom, that's what happened here, all right? Strong move, there is no rejection. There was some kind of the hesitation around 6,000, all right? And we are continuing to the upside. Of course, it's a Friday. And the worst thing may happen here for bulls is some kind of the profit taking and rejection and upper shadow. That wouldn't be good. No doubt about it. But for now, looks good. Especially that if you have a closer look on this chart, we have some kind of the lines, the scenario we were drawing here. So there was a rally, a little bit of the pullback within our scenario. So we might consider this 3 days over here of this consolidation, right, as this pullback in our scenario, and we're trying to go higher. So very interesting from the weekly perspective where we are gonna to get the close, right? Because I truly believe some bears are scared right now like hell, all right? So higher we go, more bears are gonna be forced to close. So another rally here might be created by bears, right? Forcing to close their shorts. Anyway, very interesting. And as I previously mentioned a few times, we are going to have a separate crypto short meetings where we are going to cover the crypto charts. For today, yeah, we revisited the Bitcoin chart here during the morning meeting. That's it from me today's morning. Again, reminder, 2 p.m. 2 p.m. CET time. We have another meeting today. We are going to cover New York Open. We are going to cover US CPI and Canadian jobs market. That's it from me today. Today's morning, ahead of the London Open. You are more than welcome to join afternoon meeting. So see you within the next few hours. Thank you very much. See you around. Have a good morning.